Hey, how you doing again? This is Jim again, and this is the second video about this subject, invalid parameters. And I'm always looking for some kind of a tag, you know, like you come up with a tag like what's going to pique people's interest to look at this, you know. And so I've called this one, it's under the main tag of Pearls of Wisdom, but I've decided that the thing you're going to see on your computer screen is going to be dienkizenjimm's Uncensored Mind. And hopefully I'll get some interest, because I haven't got a lot of interest with my stuff, because it's, like I said, it's not mainstream, it's not what you expect, it's completely different. I'm aware that YouTube audiences are very young people, and the very young people, you know, their minds are still developing and they're still forming their thoughts and their ideas and all this kind of stuff. So I realize that I'm trying to appeal to an audience that really doesn't have a concept of what I'm presenting to them yet. You know, I mean, they're learning, of course, you know, not to put the young people down, because I've seen some brilliant stuff on YouTube, and like my stuff, you know, it's been thrown off in the corner somewhere where you have to really dig and dig and dig to try to find it. You know, I've seen some really young people, like 12 and 13-year-olds, that are putting out some brilliant stuff, you know, and I've seen some teenagers that are putting out some really great stuff, you know. But needless to say, it's not in the mainstream of YouTube, so they're stuck off in the corner somewhere. And the comments are always, you know, you're crazy, you're weird, you're strange, all this kind of stuff, you know. Well, see, I'm 60 years old, and that doesn't bother me at all, because I believe in freedom of speech 100%. So you can say anything you want to me, I don't care. You know, I got to hide like a rhinoceros now. But like, you take a 12-year-old kid whose mind is just developing and they're just forming their ideas and thoughts and opinions and stuff, and you put a tag on them, say, you know, you're weird, you're bizarre, you're strange, you know, all this kind of stuff, you know, it really affects them a lot more than it does an older person. So you guys should have a little bit more empathy and a little bit more sensitivity when you make your comments, okay? So anyway, that's a word from our sponsor. So anyway, we're talking about the uncensored mind. And we're also talking about invalid parameters, or what YouTube perceives to be invalid parameters. And there's a person who never dealt with invalid parameters and never cared about invalid parameters. And even though he's popular now that he's dead, he wasn't that popular when he was alive. He's more popular dead than alive. And I'm going to find him real quick here for you. Okay, this is the man right here. Okay, say what you want. You know, I gotta. Of course, you know, with YouTube, that's another thing with cameras. There he is. There he is. Okay, there he is. Mr. Frank Zappa, the very great late Mr. Ruben Santo, also known as Frank Zappa. I mean, that's the man right there, okay? That's the man who just never cared what people thought about him, what people said about him, or anything, you know? And he's definitely a fantastic role model for you young people. And if you haven't looked at his music, you really need to look at his music and really what he was trying to say. I mean, he exploded censorship before they even defined censorship. You know, he lost millions and millions and millions of dollars, not to mention record contracts and recording dates and tours and everything, because he would not compromise his values. How many people in the world can even say that today? Okay, anyway, so we're getting back to invalid parameters. And this is kind of like a hodgepodge. So I'm going to just keep going with the hodgepodge of it. I'm not going to like try to stick to one particular subject and everything. As far as I know, the other video was published, but then, like I said, you know, sometimes I think my stuff is published and then it comes up, well, we couldn't publish it, it failed to convert. Well, usually what failed to convert means, that phrase, is that, hey, there's something on here that you said that we don't want other people to hear, so we're just going to put this tag, failed to convert, on here, and then we're not going to have to publish your video, okay? All right, anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about Jesse Ventura. Okay, if anybody is a wrestling person, then they know Jesse Ventura, Jesse the Body Ventura. He was a, you know, a wrestler, a world champion, and then he became an announcer, and then he ran for governor, and, you know, if you know him, you know the story. Okay, well, he's gotten very controversial lately because he's coming up with all these controversial conspiracy theories that are usually, started with the government. And he's been on all these different shows, expounding on these theories. And every show he's been on is pretty much the same thing, except Howard Stern. Howard Stern's the only one that actually gave him a good sounding board. But every other show that I've seen him on, what he does is he goes on to talk about his book, and basically what the people who run the show do is they attack him from start to finish. In other words, try to discredit this man and his theories, see? And of course, he's got the 9/11 theory. We all have a 9/11 theory. He's got the Kennedy theory, he's got the John Lennon theory. He even goes far back as the Abraham Lincoln theory, this type of stuff. Why Lincoln was assassinated. But basically all they're ever trying to do is try to discredit him, to kind of dismiss his theories as bunk. So, i.e., if the man has no gravity to his theories, then there's no gravity to the man. And he always makes the mistake of going on these media-controlled, owned shows, that are owned by rich people who are in power, who are connected with the government, and who control the media and what is said and stuff. But he still continues to go on these shows, and all he is blasted all the time, and his ideas are poo-pooed and all this kind of stuff. Well, he was actually censored on the Huffington Post paper. And I thought, well, wake up, people. I mean, who is Huffington? Huffington is this really, really rich person whose daughter or niece or mother or whatever, has already ran for Congress, so they already have political aspirations and everything, so they're already connected with the government. They've got more money than they can use in a lifetime of lifetimes, i.e. they have the power, they have the money, and he's giving them these articles that are really controversial because they're not only controversial, they're drawing attention to the Huffingtons. Of course the Huffingtons aren't going to publish his articles and are going to censor them, and everything. And you got to remember, these media shows like The View and 60 Minutes and all these kind of things, they're owned by rich people, okay? They're owned by people with a lot of money and a lot of power who want to keep it. And anytime you go on their show and express an ultra opinion, you're threatening their power base, see? And a lot of times they let it slide because, hey, well, this person's harmless, he's already been considered a nut and everything, so hey, let's get a laugh out of him. But Jesse Ventura has some really, really good theories. Now, I'm going to add my crazy theory to the mix here. Okay, when I heard about the Kennedy assassination, and I didn't know anything about the Kennedy assassination, okay? But I did know one thing. I did know that no matter who they interviewed, no matter who they talked to, regardless of what walk of life this person was from, they all had one common connection. One common constant was always mentioned. And that common constant was something called Operation Mongoose, quote unquote. Now, I'm telling you, it didn't matter if they were a political person, if they were a military person, if they were a media person, if they were a show business person, if they owned a nightclub, if they were like a factory worker or anything. They all knew about Operation Mongoose. And I've always contended, we're getting towards the parameter here, I've always contended that Operation Mongoose is the common goal that all these so-called unassociated people had. So if you're really interested in the JFK conspiracy, look into what Operation Mongoose was, because everybody who didn't seem to know anything about anything always knew about that. Okay, so we're going to the third video here. Let's see if they even publish these, okay?